Thanks. So, what Alexa didn't mention is that the streetscape work is starting this spring, and it's also coupled with reinvestment and redevelopment of a handful of vacant properties along the stretch of McNichols that is at the northern boundary of the Fitzgerald neighborhood. And alongside this work, is sort of a parallel outcome that contributes to corridor redevelopment, which is a physical space for collaboration in the neighborhood as well, which is the neighborhood home base, which opened last April and is a reactivation of an empty storefront along McNichols that had been vacant since the 90s. And it's now home to the second office of DCDC, my organization, which is now off campus and in the community, which is really exciting. Live 6, our community development partner on all of this work. And it also houses desks for neighborhood and nonprofit collaborators, like the City of Detroit, like other nonprofits who are engaging with the neighborhood through workforce development or otherwise. So really creating the space for that cross-sector collaboration that has made all of this work possible, which includes meeting space. But also importantly, the front of the space at the storefront is a big community shared space that is intended for block club meetings, for community association gatherings, for other nonprofit workshop events. And it has really complemented the public spaces in the neighborhood as this indoor all-weather third space in the neighborhood. And there's also a new coffee shop right next door, which is sort of the perfect synergy to bring people in. And one of the other important components of neighborhood home base is that it's staffed by resident leaders and young professionals from the Fitzgerald neighborhood, sort of creating a more welcoming entry and experience for that front community space. So people use it for events, but also use it to get internet access or come sit and have a chat with neighbors. And we're continuing to program and build up exhibits and events in that space. I also wanted to underscore what Alexa was mentioning, that this work is all built upon an infrastructure that's continually evolving and growing of community engagement. So that engagement looks like a lot of different things. It does include the traditional community meeting, but it has also expanded to include much more. So we quickly realized, as we all know, that not everybody can attend community meetings, but there was a lot of activity in the vacant lots in the neighborhood that are in the process of being transformed and beautified through this process. So the city ended up hosting a lot of cookouts in vacant lots as a way to just, reach passerby, offer a hot dog, but then have a conversation about what was happening in the neighborhood. And then through a parallel effort led by residents, actually, with DCDC's support, there was a lot of focus on programming vacant lots that led to now ongoing programming that's resident-led in the park, Ella Fitzgerald Park. So that initial programming looked like pop-ups. It looked like temporary activation in vacant lots. That tested out program partners and tested out what residents would show up for and wanted to see as activities that would bring people together in the neighborhood. And now through that, there's actually activity ambassadors and park ambassadors who are from the neighborhood who lead those activities still. And that's really taken on a life of its own, which is pretty fantastic and is an opportunity for ongoing engagement. So when we were seeking more input for the mosaic, for instance, we showed up, the city showed up, the artists showed up at those activity days as a way to talk to more people than we might reach at a typical meeting. Let's see. So another really important piece of this work are those resident leaders that range in age from 12 to our partner in a lot of things, Stephanie Harbin, who's the president of the San Juan Block Club, who is space ambassador for the home base. She's the president of the Block Club. She's really an example of one of many resident leaders who have been really essential to all of this work. And I think I'm just going to end to say that I think that, a lot of these parallel efforts have contributed to collaboration across sectors, but also collaboration across blocks in the neighborhood. So, there is a block club active in the neighborhood, which is sort of our smallest unit of civic infrastructure in the city of Detroit, that has gained strength because they've been reacting and trying to navigate what's happening in the neighborhood, because the city has been going there to have conversations about what's happening in the neighborhood, and because parallel efforts have invited new voices from every block in the neighborhood into the process. So there's more leaders and more active participants in the conversation around what's happening in the neighborhood than there were before, which I think is one of the most important outcomes of this whole process.